January.
Expert David Cohen. But first we have this report from Aileen Taylor.
This is the image most people have of Tenerife, a holiday mecca for thousands of British tourists. But away from the beaches, police say they've been tracking the movements of a sinister doomsday cult, which they think may be linked to the infamous Solar Temple. Police who moved in on this house yesterday say the group were convinced the world was going to end last night, and they planned to kill themselves first before being transported by spaceship from Mount Teide. The Order of the Solar Temple first came to world attention in 1994, when 48 members were found dead in Switzerland and 5 in Canada. A year later, 16 died in France, and last March another 5 in Canada. That same month, 39 members of a different sect, the Heaven's Gate cult, committed suicide in California. Cult experts believe a fascination with the approaching millennium has spawned an increase in dangerous and sometimes deadly cults.
With me now is cult expert David Cohen. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Well, the police have averted this one, which is good news, but are they now safe from themselves, these people, or are they being chained up somewhere to stop themselves doing it again?
Well, I don't think they probably will need to be chained up. I mean, the reason people go into these cults, and we have a very different approach in this country, we think cults are for inadequate people. On the continent, on the whole, a lot of the people who are involved with the Solar Temple have been extremely successful, well-off, and competent people who suffered from a severe dose of spiritual vanity. So it's difficult to protect people against that. These are not, so I don't know who the people in Tenerife were, but the people who died in the Solar Temple were not sort of poor, pathetic little, wimps who somebody conned. They were extremely well-together people, and one of them was a man called Camille Pillet, who was a marketing director of Piaget Watches. The film that I made for Channel 4 that went out 2 weeks ago alleged, and I believe it, that Grace Kelly took part in this cult. So you're not talking about inadequates. People go into them because they want to find deeper and higher meaning. And the Canary Islands police, I don't think is going to stop that. They'll stop them killing themselves because, they will put them under some surveillance and they'll stop them meeting together, but ultimately you can't stop it.
But from my position of complete ignorance, I presume they get involved and that there's somebody with a wristwatch or a fob watch going like this and they're...
No. That's a very British attitude, and that may be true of sort of what happens here, but it's not at all true of this and a whole number of other cults. People aren't hypnotized against their will. In the Solar Temple, they believed that they were seeing visions. I mean, I interviewed a man on camera who said he had seen the Holy Grail. Now, if the cult leader could bring you the Holy Grail, then clearly he was in touch with the most powerful forces in the universe. So it wasn't a question of, Svengali at all.
Well, 1998 isn't a particularly significant year as far as I'm aware, but the millennium surely must be. What effect will that have on cults and their members? Well,
I suspect your report is right. I mean, there was a huge outburst of cult activity in 1533 because that was 1,500 years after the death of Christ. So these things do kind of grab the imagination, and I think there probably will be. I don't think there's anything you can do to stop it. You can't stop people seeking meaning and seeking true importance for themselves.
Well, for the time being, we'll have to stop, but thank you very much for joining us today.
Time is 20 to 7. Here's the news, weather and travel where you are.